Hey, Facebook, it's Reid from readaboutsex.com, and I'm wearing one of the out-of-stock Sex Geek tank tops that we made a couple of summers ago. So as you're signing on, let me know if you would like me to do another run of the tank tops. And today I'm gonna talk about you might have seen the CNN news story about Harvard University rescinding some acceptance letters for a couple of students, I think about 10 or something like that if I'm remembering the article, for them, sharing some memes that were not so nice in a Facebook group. And it had me think about, because there's some people posting their reactions to that news story. I want to ask you the question about, what do you think your online persona, your timeline, how do you think, or what do you think is right for that to really affect how people see you? And I'm just kind of interested and nerdy about this. And I'm going to say right now, I have opinions about how human beings, especially adults, should take responsibility for what they post. And I also know that things that I thought were funny when I was in 8th grade or in high school, now that I'm nerdy about things like social justice and transformational justice, and I'm a little bit of a nerd about systemic oppression, and I personally want to leave the world a better place than I found it. And having been educating myself and having friends who are helping me get better at understanding things like male privilege and white privilege, even things as nerdy as just being an extrovert, and like slut privilege and things like that. I know that there are things that I thought were funny when I was younger that, now that I understand situations, they're just not funny anymore. And some of the jokes that I still remember that I would have told when I was a younger adult, I have a different opinion on. Like jokes about, I'm gonna sit if I don't fall off here. I don't want to walk right now. But jokes about women, or about sluts, or jokes about sex workers and things like that, they're just not funny to me anymore for a lot of different reasons. I have done sex work. I date sex workers. I have friends who are lawyers, and some of the lawyer jokes that I used to tell are kind of mean to lawyers. But the idea of, when I was younger, we didn't have the internet in the same way, and so we don't have recordings or memes or posts of me telling those jokes. So there's an interesting situation as we grow, as we learn, and because the internet exists forever, like what should you hold somebody accountable for or to when they're, let's say when they're in 8th grade versus when they're 28? Does that change when they're 16 and now they're 36? Does it change for somebody who is basically kind of ignorant and didn't know any better, and they're in their whatever age, 30s or 40s or whatever, and now they're less ignorant, or they're swimming in circles where the communities themselves are holding them to a higher standard of accountability? Like, what do we do? Are you supposed to go back through all your years of Facebook and delete posts or things that you realize now are more offensive? And what does it mean about the things? I'm going to use the word sensitive, not like people are sensitive snowflakes, but more like as the world becomes more sensitive to injustice and we can promote or broadcast where things are kind of off and wobbly. There was a time when I really didn't know about ableism, and my understanding of race dynamics was not what it is now. And I didn't know to look for that stuff back, in the 70s and 80s and 90s when I was growing up. So if we also project or forecast into the future that there will be things that some people, I'll speak for myself, things that I didn't know to be sensitive about or aware of, like 10 years from now, there'll be new stuff I didn't know that I didn't know. And so, 10 years from now, do I go back, every couple of years and just erase or delete all the posts or things that I realize now, because I have a different awareness, are insensitive, or just, we're just me being a jerk and not knowing it, which I think is different than being a jerk and knowing it. But at the same time, like, this is more of a conversation because we've never really had this kind of opportunity before as human beings. And so many of us never had this kind of digital presence before as human beings either. So I'm more interested in what your thoughts are, because I have a lot of friends and followers who span the range of, hey Reid, I'm just starting to, get interested in understanding male privilege and sexism and consent culture and how slut shaming and victim blaming, are systemic things. And I'm just starting to learn. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. And I want to do a good job. And then, I've got friends and peers who this is their area of expertise. And they're amazing at calling people in and calling people out. And so, like, what do you think? Because now we have people on the planet who've had a Facebook page since they were 10 or 11. And, as they grow older, like, how do we invite people to be less jerks in the world? And also, I guess there are going to be some people who still want to tell the lawyer jokes. And they're like, no, Reid, I'm firmly standing by the lawyer memes, regardless of who I have as lawyer friends, or insert whatever, occupation or dynamic, or whatever Mad Lib you want to drop into the joke. What do you think? I'm more interested about what you all think. If you want to leave comments, you can email me at reid@reidaboutssex.com. And I'm still kind of thinking about this too. If there are people that got kicked out of Harvard or disinvited from Harvard because, and again, I didn't see the memes or any of that stuff, and I'm not condoning by any means hate speech or just being a douche. But I'm interested in what seems to be a certain kind of people are jerks when they're younger, and then they either learn how to be less jerky or they double down on their jerkitude. And I'm curious about that. And I think a couple of weeks ago I talked about the backfire effect, and I posted about that, which is a psychological situation that's studied around how human beings resist or embrace changes in ideas, and that sometimes when you try to give people new information, it backfires, and they hold on to the original information harder, despite whatever science or logic that you present to them. So these are all interesting things, and I'm just going grocery shopping and thinking about this stuff, and And now that I said that, it reminds me I've got ice cream in the trunk of the car that I have to get home before it melts. So I'm going to leave it here, which is food for thought. And that final question, like, what is your digital life, your timeline history, say about you as a human being in real life? Because I think some people think that their digital life shouldn't actually really count towards who they are in real life. Like the digital version of, hey, I was just joking. It was just a meme. But I do think that stuff, for some people, who you are digitally is a representation of who you are in real life. And so we are holding people accountable in real life for their digital presentation. Man, what do you think about that? All right, that's it. I'm going to leave you before the ice cream melts. I adore so many of you, and share these videos and leave your comments, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.